If you want to become rich, the first piece of harsh reality that you have to understand is that nobody wants to see you become rich, except you, maybe your mom and a couple other people, and of course, me. And the big struggle that people have trying to become rich is they say, I'm working 50 hours a week. And then you focus in on the amount of money you're making these 50 hours a week, and you say, man, I'm not making enough money for the 50 hours that I'm putting in. But every week has 168 hours in it. And you're focused on the amount of money you're making from these 50 hours, but you're ignoring the other 118 hours of life every single week. And if you want to become wealthy, you're going to start having to allocate this time in a way that's going to make you more money. That way you can actually become wealthy. And while we're on the topic of harsh truths, here's a second piece of harsh truth that you need to understand if you want to become rich. If somebody is making more money than you, then they are better than you at something. And you have to understand what that something is. That way you can earn more money yourself. What are they beating you at? Well, it could be mindset, it could be skill, or it could be drive, or a combination of these three things. You need a combination of these three things if you want to become successful, if you want to become wealthy, if you want to become rich, whatever word you want to use, because just one of these alone is not going to take you there. You could have the healthiest and the best mindset in the world. You can wholeheartedly believe that you're going to become rich. You can wholeheartedly know that you're going to be the richest person in the world and meditate on this idea of you becoming successful for 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day. But just thinking about becoming successful and believing that you're going to become successful is not going to take you there. Just like that, your skill isn't going to take you there by itself either. I know some very smart people who are way smarter than I am, people who have way more certificates, way more degrees, way more education than I do that are broke. Why? Because they have good skill, but they don't know what to do with that skill in order to monetize that skill. And third, drive. Just because you're hardworking does not mean that you're going to become rich. It is a very important factor to become rich or wealthy quicker, but it's not the only factor. My grandfather is the hardest working person that I've ever seen, and he was a refugee. He had to literally fight for his life. He never had the option or the luxury or the privilege to complain. He worked every single day, long hours, just to keep his family alive and fed. But he never had the chance to become rich. He never became rich or anything close to that, but he was the hardest working person that I know, which is why your drive by itself is not going to make you successful. Now, by themselves, each one of these three things are valuable and they're important, but when you combine them together, that's where you see the 1 + 1 + 1 = 1,000,000 thing, where now each one of these things in combination with one another are going to compound the returns that you get. So let's start by talking about your mindset. You have to believe that you're going to become successful, because if you don't believe that you're going to become successful, I can 100% guarantee that you're not going to become successful. There's a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and without giving away what happens in the book, there's one small story in the book that talks about this guy who saw his dad get very sick. His dad was essentially near his deathbed. He kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker, but his dad was a very devoted Christian. He was very religious. And so he went out and he found this disciple of Jesus, somebody who knew Jesus, and he had a piece of the original Jesus cross, the actual cross, and it was on a ring. And he took this home to his dad and he said, Dad, I found this holy person. He had a piece of the Jesus cross. He says that if you meditate on this, if you touch it, you're going to get better. And that's what his dad did. He touched the cross. He believed wholeheartedly that he was going to get better. And he did begin to get better. Then the story goes that his dad lived a long life and eventually passed away. And then it became public that he didn't actually meet any holy person. He just went to the street, found a random piece of wood, put it in a ring, and he told his dad the story because he knew that his dad would believe it and it would change his dad's mindset as to whether he would get better or not. Your mindset is very powerful. Now, whether or not you want to believe the story, that's fine. But the whole idea here is the power of dumb belief, because I have experienced that myself. When I was 16, 17, 18 years old, trying to get started as an entrepreneur, I had a lot of dumb belief that I was going to become successful. How was I going to do it? I had no idea. How was I going to get there? I had no idea. What did I need to learn? I had no idea. I didn't grow up with any sort of entrepreneurship education. I didn't grow up with any sort of financial education. I was told to stay away from these things. And so everything that I did that was entrepreneurial, that was related to investments, was all done in secret because I was supposed to be a doctor. My parents told me from the day that I could start talking that I needed to become a doctor when I got older. And they were so serious about this that when I was in middle school, I was 12 years old. I was like in 8th grade. My parents got me an MCAT tutor to help me get into medical school, so when I go to college, I'll be more than ready to get into medical school. So I had no other option. I was not supposed to do anything that was not related to becoming a doctor. So I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship or business or investing or money or any of that stuff. I had to go out and learn it myself. And I had to do this all in secret, in addition to doing all my pre-med stuff to get ready to go to medical school, because at the time I thought I was gonna go to medical school, but I was able to figure it out. Why? Because I had a lot of dumb belief. And because I had that dumb belief, I had that mindset, I was willing to go and learn this skill because I had none of this skill. I didn't know how to start a business. I didn't know how to sell anything. I didn't know how to market. I didn't even know what marketing was. I didn't know how to make YouTube videos. I didn't know how to build a product. I didn't know how to build a sales funnel. All these things were completely foreign to me. Not just that, I didn't know what investing was. I had never heard of the term dividends or stocks or real estate investing. I didn't know any real estate investors. So I had none of this. But what I did have was this. I knew that I wanted to become successful. I knew that I was gonna become successful. How? I didn't know. But I knew that I had this. I was a hard worker. I used to listen to an audiobook. Well, it wasn't an audiobook, it was an audio CD by Eric Thomas. He's known as E.T., and he had this CD back in the day called The Blueprint to Success. And it was a motivational tape CD where he talked about his life journey, how he went from being homeless to now being one of the top motivational speakers in the world. And I listened to that CD so many times that I had memorized every single word in that CD. And one of the concepts, the main concept, was to work. Because if you know how to work hard, you can shorten your span to achieving whatever it is that you want to do, right? Because if you're working hard, you can get to wherever you want to go quicker. Your hard work is much more beneficial when you work smart, but your hard work will help you get to wherever you want to go quicker as long as you're willing to put in the work and stop doing a whole bunch of things that don't matter in your life. And that book really, or the audio CD, really helped me build my drive, and I was willing to work hard, but again, hard work by itself is not going to make you successful, but if you incorporate this drive into your skill, where now you're working hard to learn things, to make mistakes, to do things wrong, now you can amplify how fast you learn these skills. Because these skills are developed not just through watching YouTube videos and reading books and buying classes. All those things are good, and they're very helpful to help you develop your skills. But the best skills that you can develop are by going out and doing it and failing. You cannot bypass the experience side of this skill. And all the mistakes that I've made, all the failures that I've had, all the expensive mistakes that I've made, because I have made some extremely expensive mistakes in my investments, in my business, all these things are my real life tuition to learn how to be better at what I do. And so you have to be willing to invest in this skill, whether it's starting with your time, because if you don't have a ton of money, you don't want to go out and lose everything that you don't have on an investment or business idea. Start by watching YouTube videos, then start investing in books, then start buying classes. All these things will then set you up to go out and actually do something, because you don't want to get into this just content consumption game where all you're doing is consuming content, and you're really good at consuming content. You've read every book, you've listened to every podcast, you've watched every YouTube video, and you've bought every class, but you haven't built any business. At some point, you got to go out and actually do it, even if you don't feel like you're ready, and just start and fail and screw up, because that's how you're going to learn. Once you start making a dollar doing whatever it is you want to do, that's how you're going to learn. Understanding this is the first thing that you got to do if you want to become successful. Because if you're not happy with the amount of money you're making, you are lacking either here, here, or here, and you got to be honest with yourself and see where you're lacking. And if you say, but Jaspreet, I think I have all three. Well, if you're not happy with the money you make, you're not here. You're lacking either here, here, or here, and you got to figure out where that is, and you got to be honest with yourself, because you have room for improvement, and you got to see where it is that you can improve. Maybe you're not thinking big enough. Maybe you don't know how to monetize your skills well enough. Maybe you're not working hard enough. You got to figure out where it is that you're lacking. That way now you can move on to the second thing that will help you get to where you want to go financially. Now, if you do want to stay up to date on how to be a better business person, if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a CEO, if you're the founder of a company, I created a free newsletter called Business Briefs, where every day my team is breaking down what's happening in the business economic world. This is things like what's happening with funding, what's going on with funding trends, what's going on in the creator economy, how are things changing in the marketing side of the world, how are things changing in terms of the business news and trends and innovation. We cover all the things going on in the business world, the entrepreneur world, the founder world, the things that you need to be aware of. That way you can be a better business owner. So if you're a business owner, it's a free resource that I created. And if you want to join Business Briefs for free, I got the link to how you can join down in the description below. The second thing that you want to do is you want to study what successful people do and then understand and analyze that. The reason why I don't say copy that is because things and times change. Now you can look at Warren Buffett and you can see what Warren Buffett did in his early days, because he was selling chewing gum and he was selling stamps. Now, if you go out and you try to sell chewing gum and you try to sell stamps, you're not going to get anywhere in this economy, because when he was selling chewing gum and stamps, it was a completely different time. And this is where you got to understand, analyze, and then apply what people did to what's happening in our times. Because if somebody became successful, you want to understand what they did. And an easy way to start learning is just by watching YouTube videos of what people did, or by reading blogs of what people did, or by reading books, people's biographies, because if you read someone's biography, you're going to really dive deep into their mind and try to put yourself in their shoes. How can you do something similar? How can you start making money right now? How can you go start selling things right now? Because if you want to be like Warren Buffett, or if you want to be like Steve Harvey, or if you want to be like somebody, see what they did. Now, of course, they have a different background, they have a different lifestyle, they have different goals, they have a different risk tolerance, but start doing different things, because now you want to put yourself in those shoes where now you're trying to set yourself up for success. If you don't know where to start doing what somebody you idolize, somebody that you like, somebody that you respect, somebody that you look up to, see what they did and start doing something similar in today's time. Today, it's not selling gum and stamps. Maybe it's selling on Amazon. Maybe it's selling on eBay. Maybe it's selling on a Shopify store. Maybe it's selling through your content on Instagram. Maybe it's starting a YouTube channel and selling something there. Maybe it's building a sales funnel. You got to see what's right for you, but you need to see what people have done for what you want to achieve. That way you can start applying the knowledge to you. Third is what I like to call ready, fire, aim. You're going to shoot, screw up, see where you screwed up, and fix it. The reason why so many people don't get anywhere in life financially is because they follow the ready, aim, fire. When you do ready, aim, fire, what ends up happening for so many people is you get ready, you aim, you aim, you aim, you aim, and then you go nowhere. Because now you start psyching yourself out with every single potential hurdle, every potential thing that could go wrong, every potential thing that might not be good, and now you psych yourself out of the idea. But what ends up happening for so many people is you pivot. When you start an idea, you see what's actually wrong, and then you pivot, and then you do something else, and then you pivot again, and then you pivot again. But you can't pivot and make adjustments and improve until you actually start. And you don't need a perfect business idea. You just got to start. And this is going to sound very simple and obvious, but so many people don't do this. So many people get caught up right here that they never start. They never do anything. Why? Because they're scared. What if I lose my money? This is a dumb idea. It's not scalable. It's not good enough. But you never know until you start. And even if you do something that fails, I promise you're going to learn way more than just sitting there on your butt looking at TV all day. You got to actually do something if you want to see some success. And this means now taking some risk, being willing to lose money, being willing to invest your time into something and actually trying something. There's a lot of value in actually going out and doing it, and that's how you're going to start learning, and that's how you're going to start pivoting. In the early days of this YouTube channel, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I don't even know why I started this channel. I started this channel as a hobby because I screwed up in a different business. And so I started this channel as a hobby, talking about business ideas and how to build a business that way you don't get screwed over. And then I ran out of content for a little while because I was so busy doing other things. So I started making videos about successful people. I made videos about how Kobe Bryant had an amazing mindset, about how Steve Harvey became Steve Harvey, about Kim Kardashian. And then I got bored of that stuff, and then I started making other videos. I said, maybe I'll talk about financial education. Then I started talking about financial education. Then I started talking more about investing, and I really enjoyed that more. And then things changed in 2020. I started talking about the financial news, and that was a trigger for me to start Market Briefs. And then Market Briefs started to grow, and then Market Briefs was then a trigger for me to then start Business Briefs. And so everything builds on top of one another. But if you're just sitting there on your butt watching TV, not doing anything, thinking, oh man, it's a good idea, but this is wrong, that's wrong, you're not gonna get anywhere. You gotta actually make progress, you gotta do something, and then when you realize that it's not a good idea, you're gonna start learning more things, you're gonna be more skilled, more aware, and you're gonna be more understanding of what needs to be done, because you have to just start. And as you start, you're gonna make mistakes. Most people don't hit their jackpot on their first try. They got to do things, and each time you're learning. Your skills are compounding, your mindset is compounding, you learn how to compound your drive, because the hours that I work today are not as much as the hours that I worked when I was 19 years old. But the impact that I have for every hour that I work is significantly more, because now not only am I able to put my work into it, I have a team of people that I can put to work, I have my money that I can put to work, so you're compounding your skills, you're compounding your ability, you're compounding your mindset. You know, the bigger you get, the more success you achieve, the more opportunities that you see, and you see how more success is possible, so your mindset begins to grow, your skills begin to grow, and along with that, you learn how to impact and grow your drive, not just by putting in more hours, but learning how to be more efficient and how to get more things done by building a team, using your capital, and that way you can actually grow everything. But you can't get there unless you start doing something. Fourth, you gotta focus in on one thing. We all know that saying that millionaires have at least 7 streams of income or something like that. But what's never told in that saying is that a millionaire didn't become a millionaire because they had 7 streams of income. They became a millionaire because they had one good stream of income. And then after they became a millionaire, they started diversifying. And then they created a second stream of income, and then a third, and then a fourth, and then a fifth, and then a sixth, and a seventh. And it's much easier to do that once you have built one solid cash flow stream, one solid stream of money. That way now you can use this money and reinvest it into other things. But until you have built that one thing, you can't create all these other things, because now if you try to build a YouTube channel, but at the same time, you're trying to build an Amazon store that's unrelated to your YouTube channel. And at the same time, you're trying to build this digital marketing agency. And at the same time, you're trying to do something else. You're never going to get anywhere, because your attention, your time, your effort, your money, your brain capacity is going everywhere. You can scale once you build one. Like now, we've been able to grow our brand and our team to do many more things. I have my YouTube channel, I have market briefs, I have business briefs, we're working on building a consulting force, we're working on building a tax firm. I can do all these things now because I have teams, I have people that can manage different parts of different businesses. But if I tried to do all of these different things right now, I would get nowhere. And I can tell you this because I've been there and I've done that. I've tried doing a whole bunch of things at one time. I've tried doing my Amazon store or my event planning company, or trying to figure out how to do real estate wholesaling, and I was able to see some success, but none of them really go anywhere until you double down, you focus on one thing, and you make one thing successful. You take one thing to $1 million a year, and now you can start taking the income that you have and you can start reinvesting into the second, the third, the fourth. But you have to build that one thing first. You got to build that cash cow. You got to build that one cash flow producing machine. That way you have a solid stream of income that you can reinvest, build your team, build your staff, and grow your force. But you got to have that one thing first. And number 5, which is one of the most overlooked for people that make money, is to reinvest back in the business. And you see this a lot with people who are high income salespeople, people who start their first business, people who make a lot of money on the internet, people who just start to make a lot of money for the first time. You want to start living a lifestyle based off of the higher income. You made $30,000 in a month for the first time ever. What are you going to do with this $30,000? You go on a vacation, you get yourself a new car, and you get yourself a new watch. Well, now you have no money, but you are working to build the business, so hopefully you get another $30,000 next month, and then you keep living large. But now what you're doing is you're sucking the lifeblood out of your business. You're sucking the lifeblood out of you. Even if you don't have a business, you're sucking the lifeblood, because that cash flow is the lifeblood for your financial success. And if you take that cash out and you start buying liabilities, the vacations, the cars, the nice clothes, the watches, well, now your business has less blood to regrow and build more and build upon that. And this is where you got to understand, what type of lifestyle do you want to live? And you see this a lot with YouTubers, and this might be one of the easiest examples to give. Because if you started a YouTube channel, it's going to take you some time to make some money, and maybe your channel takes off. And now you're doing $10,000 a month, you're doing $20,000 a month, and you feel great. You're making 20 grand a month from your YouTube channel, which is a lot of money. And now you start living off that 20 grand a month. You start having a better apartment, you drive a better car, you have better restaurants that you're going to, you're going on more vacations, and you're spending this 20 grand a month. But what you forget is you're just one paycheck away from being broke. Because if something happens to the YouTube algorithm, something happens to your YouTube channel, the income goes away, well, now you have nothing. And you have all these expenses, you have all these liabilities, you have all these bills to pay, but now the income has gone away. And to think that this income won't go away is very foolish, because it doesn't even matter if it's not a YouTube channel. Replace YouTube channel with any business, even if it's your job, it doesn't matter. It's the exact same thing. This is where now you need to be taking the cash and reinvesting as much of it as possible into an asset that will also pay you. That way now you have built this whole stream where now you make money from YouTube, now you're taking this money and you're buying assets with it. That's kind of what I did here at Minority Mindset. I took the money from Minority Mindset, and first I was reinvesting it back into stocks and real estate. But then I decided, you know what, let me reinvest the money back into the business. So then I took the cash and I reinvested it into building Market Briefs. Now Market Briefs is profitable, it's building its own cash flow, and now we're reinvesting the money back into Business Briefs. So building multiple different assets back into the business, that way you can grow your streams of income. But it requires you now to be smart and reinvest that money back into you, back into your business, back into your education, because if you just take that cash and you just give it away, you go and buy a Rolex, you go and buy a Lamborghini, you go and buy the nice stuff, that money is gone. You're literally just burning the cash, you're giving it away. Yeah, you might have some nice stuff, but first thing you gotta do before you make everybody else rich is you gotta make yourself wealthy. Because right now, yeah, you made a lot of money, nice. But now you wanna take this money and you wanna double it, triple it, 5x it, 10x it, 100x it, and once you start doing that, that's when you can start taking a little bit more money off the top and start using it for yourself. But before you start using the money for yourself, you got to make sure you're compounding the money and growing the money. That way you can actually take care of yourself and become wealthy yourself. Now again, if you are a business owner and you want to know what's happening in the business economy and make better business decisions, you can join Business Briefs for free, which is a resource that I created for entrepreneurs. And I got the link for you down in the description below. Let's assume that you're an investor and you're investing your money into this company A. And company A makes $1 million a year in revenue, and they are left with $200,000 a year after their expenses, meaning they have $200,000 a year in profits. But if you dig a little bit deeper into company A, what you see is that they have two different divisions. They have division 1 right here, and then division 2 right here. Two very different divisions. However, division 2 makes up 80% of the revenue, and division 1 makes up 20% of the revenue. And then if you dig a little bit deeper, what you see is that division 1 has half of the employees and half of the expenses. So this is 20% of the revenue, but 50% of the expenses. And division 2 is also 50% of the expenses. So now if you are an investor, you're looking at this saying, division 2 is bringing in most of the revenue, and it has the same number of employees, the same amount of cost, the same expenses as division 1, which is bringing in just 20% of the revenue. So you're spending, if you have $800,000 a year in expenses, $400,000 of expenses here, $400,000 worth of expenses here. You're spending $400,000 here to bring in 20% of the revenue, but that same $400,000 of expenses here is bringing in 80% of the revenue. Now you as the investor are seeing this and saying, we got to do something here, because you don't get paid a salary, you get paid based off of the profit as the owner, right? You're getting a profit share, you have the valuation of the company, the bigger the profits, the more the company's worth, so you want to have bigger profits. So you might say, you know what, we need to let go of the people here, we need to get rid of this division, that way we can focus here. Because if you were to fire everybody here and you were to shut down division 1, well now all of a sudden you have increased the amount of profits that you have in the company, because now you have $400,000 worth of expenses and only 80% of the revenue, which is $800,000. Which means if you get rid of division 1, which is this money pit, you will now have $400,000 a year in profits, because now you got rid of the money-sucking division. You got rid of the things that were not working. And so this now is the mindset of an investor, where now you are trying to find out the most efficiencies, the most productiveness, and you want to have the best allocation of your capital. You want to put your money to use in the best place that's going to give you the biggest return. If you're investing in a company in the stock market, if you're investing in startups, if you're investing in real estate, if you're trying to build a company, you want to see an increase in your profits and you want to see a growth in your valuation. But now let's flip things up just a little bit. And let's assume now that you are not an investor in company A, and rather you are a worker in company A. And a little bit more specifically, let's assume that you work right here in division 1. And so now you're working every single day to get a paycheck, you're doing whatever the job requires, and you think you're doing a good job. And then all of a sudden, one day, you go to work, and then you found out that you're getting fired. Now, your smile is going to go from this smile to a big frown. Why? Because you were relying on this paycheck. You didn't really have much risk besides the job being lost, because now you don't have to invest any money, you don't have to go into debt to build the company, you don't have any personal loans to build the company, but you were relying on your paycheck to live your life. And now what happens? Well, this paycheck just went away. And now you have to go out and find another job, hopefully soon, because you have expenses to pay, you got your mortgage or your rent, you got your car payment, you got your kids to feed, you got to pay for everything else. And now you're the one that's struck, and now you're hating the company because you're saying, why would you let me go? The company was mismanaged, it wasn't run well, and now you're out trying to figure out why the system keeps trying to screw you over. And this is where now you have to think a little bit different and understand where school lacks. School teaches you to be an employee. Now, this could be any type of employee. It could be a manufacturer, this could be an accountant, this could be an executive. I mean, this works along the whole spectrum of employees. School teaches you to be an employee. It teaches you to be a worker in a company. Now, there's nothing wrong with being an employee, but you have to understand how the system works and what school teaches us, because there's a difference from just being an employee to being an owner in a company. Whether you hate it or whether you love it, this is how our economic system works. The way our system works, it is designed to benefit the people who own and invest in the companies. Not just the system, but our laws are also made that way. There is something called fiduciary duty. Fiduciary duty means that the people here who run the company, the executives of a company, their duty is not to take care of the customers. Their duty is not to take care of the employees. Their duty is to take care of the shareholders, the investors of a company. So what the executives are trying to do is they want to maximize this. They want to maximize growth. They want to maximize profit, and they want to maximize the valuation of a company. The valuation means how much a company is worth. The more the profits, or the more that a company is growing, the more that a company is worth. And so in this system, the people who are benefited the most are the people who own a piece of the company, not just the workers. Now, when you are a worker, you get a paycheck. You're guaranteed a paycheck. You go to work, you get paid. As the investor, you don't get any guarantees. You invest your money here, hoping to see a return, but there's a chance that your investment will go to zero. There's a chance that you'll make no money in returns. There's a chance you could see huge returns. So you have the potential to make a lot of money, you have the upside return potential, but you also have the risk of losing everything. And so to compensate for the risk, you have the upside potential. And this is where now you have to understand the system and not just rely on your salary, and understand how you can use the system to your advantage. This doesn't mean that you have to go out and start your own company. Because the reality, I've learned this the hard way, because I used to think that anybody could start a business. So I tried to push a lot of my friends to go out and start a company. And then I saw some people just were not cut out to build a business. Not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody should be an entrepreneur. However, in America, in this country, the way that our system is run, everybody needs to be a business owner. Now, you might be hearing me saying that and say, Jaspreet, what do you mean? You just said not everybody should be an entrepreneur. Not everybody should start a company, but everybody should be a business owner. Yes, because you can be a business owner without operating and managing the company. But there are so many different ways to do this. Obviously, the most simple and most accessible way is just by investing your money into a company on the stock market, because when you do that, you're investing in the company, and now you have a piece of the equity. But now what are you doing? Now you want to see this system work. You want to see the profits grow. You want to see the efficiency grow. You want to see the value of the company grow. And as that happens, you get benefited. And in this system, this is how it works. Now you can hate it, you can love it, but the emotions are really irrelevant. The reality is this is what happens day in and day out, and the people that understand this become incredibly wealthy. The people who understand how the system works make so much money because they understand the system. It's not emotional. They just understand what's happening, versus the people that kick, complain, cry, scream. They're the ones that get screwed over by the system day in and day out. And it's very unfortunate because most of us are never taught this. I was never taught this. No one told me this going to school. My parents are immigrants from a state in India called Punjab. I never had any sort of entrepreneurship education. I had no sort of investing education. These were things that I had to learn the hard way, by making mistakes, by losing money, by screwing up, by trying things, by doing things. And this is where I want you to understand this is how the system works. School teaches you to be an employee. It teaches you to work at a company to help the company grow. See, when you work at a company, you're working to help the company produce this product. That way it can ultimately grow its profits. That way it can ultimately grow its valuation, which benefits the shareholders. Sure, you benefit as well. You get your paycheck, you get your salary, maybe you get some benefits, you get some healthcare, maybe you get some PTO. But at the end of the day, the person who wins the most in our economic system isn't just the worker, it is the owner. Now, as the owner, you take on the most risk because there's a chance that things will go to zero. There's a chance that the economy will fail. There's a chance that we're going to see a recession. There's a chance that all these things can happen, which can hurt the value of your investment, which means that you can see your investment go down to zero. However, there's also a chance that the opposite happens. There's a chance that you could see your investment 10x, 20x, 100x, which means that you have no upside to how much money you can make, but there's a downside that you could lose all of your money and more, depending on if you're using debt or not. And this is where now you want to strategically use the system, which means, yes, you don't have to go out and start a company if you are not an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is great. If you feel like you had the entrepreneurial bug, then by all means, go out and start a company, learn, make the mistakes, and try. But if you don't have the entrepreneurial bug, that's okay. Go work for your company. Do the best that you can to be the best worker for your company that you can to provide the most value. That way you can work your way up in the company as long as you do something that you love. If you hate the company, then look for something that you're actually passionate about. Do something that you enjoy doing. But then when you earn your income, take a piece of your income every time you get paid and invest it. That way you can own a piece of the production, whether it's investing in the stock market, whether it's investing directly into startups. There's new platforms out there, like Republic is one, where now you can invest in startup companies with as little as $100. They're not paying me to say this, it's just one example of a platform where you could invest in these types of startups with very little money, and now you take on a lot of risk because most startups will fail, but you're investing in companies at a very early stage. And if you can invest in a good company that does not fail and that gets acquired or that goes public, well, then you can see huge returns on your money. So it's just understanding risk versus reward. You can invest in real estate. If you don't want to go out and invest in physical real estate, you can invest in real estate funds. All these things are now accessible thanks to the internet, and you can start investing with literally less than $100. And it's changing the way that we use our money, because we are taught to go to school, get a degree, get a good job, and then if you do that, you will become financially successful, or you'll just become successful, and we assume that means financially successful. But just because you have a good degree doesn't mean you're going to be financially successful. I can tell you this because I went through law school, but I don't practice as an attorney because it's not worth my time financially, and it's not my passion. I like doing what I do now. I like running market briefs. I like running the companies that I'm doing. I like this more than I would like reading a whole bunch of contracts and doing a whole bunch of law work every single day. It's just not my passion. It doesn't get me excited. Now, I have met some attorneys. Some of them are very boring people, but they love doing that. And they're very good at it. And this is what they live for. And those are the type of people that I want to hire as an attorney. People who are actually passionate, who like reading legal cases, who wake up thinking about the law because this is something that they enjoy. And yeah, it's going to sound weird, but some people actually enjoy that. And this is where now you got to understand, when you're working for the paycheck, you got to think a little bit different, because we live in this consumerism culture where it is very normal to spend every dollar that you earn and more thanks to credit cards and buy now, pay later and home equity lines of credit and all these different tools which allow you to spend more money than you have today. And what are you spending this money on? It's not on an income producing asset. It's not something that's productive that's going to make you more money. It's a liability. It's a Gucci handbag, it's a Louis Vuitton, it's a vacation, it's going out and living this fancy lifestyle so you look rich, which in reality all it's doing is it's making everybody else around you rich, but it's keeping you broke. Because every time you spend $1 on something that's not making you money, it's making somebody else rich, but it's keeping you broke. When you have the BMW, when you have the Gucci, when you have the Louis Vuitton, when you're going on the vacations, all these things are nice. They look good on social media. You get to post on Instagram. You get to tell all your friends. You got to do all this cool stuff. You spend thousands of dollars and it's fun, but it's not making you any wealthier. It's making the companies wealthier. Every time you go out and buy a BMW, it's making the BMW company richer. When you go out and buy a Gucci handbag, it's making Gucci rich. When you go out and buy some Louis Vuitton, it's making them rich. When you buy some Lululemon, it's making Lululemon rich. When you have the newest AirPods and the newest iPhone, it's making Apple rich. but it's not making you rich because none of these things are putting any money in your pocket. Now you can flip the script and you can invest in the Apple Corporation, you can invest in the Lululemon Corporation, you can invest in all these different companies, but it's a different mindset now, where now you're working to own a piece of the company instead of just being a pawn in the system that's working to get paid to make everybody else around you rich. And this is the thing that school will never teach you, because school is designed to breed employees. Now again, there's nothing wrong with being an employee, because being an entrepreneur is hard. It's not for everybody. It's just like being a doctor is hard. It's not for everybody. There's nothing wrong with being a doctor. There's nothing wrong with being an accountant. There's nothing wrong with being an attorney, but you got to figure out what is the right career path for you, but then understand that no matter what you become, you have to be an investor. Our system benefits investors and business owners more than anything else. And if you don't want to start a business, that's fine, but you have to be an investor. You have to be a business owner. Even if you don't want to be in the business of operating a company, you have to be an owner of a business. And when you do that, not only do you get the financial upside, you also get the tax upside, and you also get the legal upside. And this is where now you have to understand how wealthy people function in this country, because when you understand the system, again, I'm saying this like this because most of us are never taught this, but when you understand the system, you have the opportunity to make a ton of money. You have the opportunity to become insanely wealthy, but you have to understand the system. That way you can use it to your advantage instead of just watching everybody else do it, instead of just watching everybody else get rich. That way you can benefit from the system, because once you do that, now you can take better care of yourself. You can take better care of your family, you can take better care of your community, and then you can help spread the education. That way you can win in this economic system, because education is meant to be spread. And in this economic system, if you don't understand the way the system works, well, you're just going to continue to be screwed over by the system. And we see it happen again and again and again, because it's profitable to keep people broke. It's profitable to keep people financially poor. But if you don't understand it, you're just going to continue to be stuck in it, and you're going to continue to hate it. But once you understand it, that's when you understand that the system is emotionless, and you can understand how to use the system to your advantage. Now, of course, if you want to dig a little bit deeper into the actual investing side of how do you actually invest your money, put it to work, even if you don't have a ton of money, me and my team put together a free ebook on passive income, and you can read it for free. All you got to do is click the link down in the description below. But this is where it's taking the first step of learning, and understand that your education does not end at school. It just starts at school. And now once you have that degree, understand what that degree gives you. Maybe it gives you some status. Maybe it gives you some nice art for the wall. Maybe it gets you into the door at a job. But that's not where your financial education and your financial success ends. And this is why so many people who are high income earners, people like doctors who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, are still broke, because they have no idea of how to use their money. You think, oh, I'm making a few $100,000 a year, I'm set. But now you got to have the doctor lifestyle. I'm telling you this from experience, because I was supposed to be a doctor. My parents really wanted me to be a doctor. When they found out that I wasn't going to be a doctor, they said that I have to at least go out and become an attorney if I want to maintain any pride in the family, because they didn't understand this financial education at the time. And so that's what I did. I became an attorney, but I never worked a day as an attorney. But I know a lot of doctors. And I can tell you that just because you make a big salary doesn't mean you're going to be rich. And so, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and still be broke, because now once you make that doctor salary, you want the doctor lifestyle. You need the doctor cars. You need the Range Rover. You need the Benz. You need the doctor home. You need the mansion. You need the doctor vacations. You got to have the doctor lifestyle. And now all of a sudden, yeah, you make a big salary, but your expenses are right up there with you. And that's why there's a lot of doctors who are living paycheck to paycheck. I was just reading a study, I forget who published this, but it said that about 50% of Americans making over $250,000 a year are also living paycheck to paycheck. It's not how much money you make, it's what you do with the money you make. And once you understand how to use the money you make, that's when making more money has the biggest impact and the most power, because now that you know how to use your money, you can earn more money and know how to use it to make you wealthy instead of just making everybody else around you rich. And this is where you got to start by understanding the system. Understand that, okay, school taught me to be an employee, but wealth does not come from being an employee, no matter what type of employee you are. Whether you're making hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars a year. Now it's understanding how to use your income from your job, put it to work to capitalize on our system. That way you can actually build true wealth over the long term. So the last thing that I want to mention is that this true wealth doesn't happen overnight. It's not something that happens in 6 months or 12 months. It's something that happens over the long term where you consistently keep investing your money. Anytime you get paid, make your investments like an expense. Make it like a bill where every time you get paid, you have to pay yourself first. You want to put some money aside for your investments, whether it's stocks, whether it's startups, whether it's real estate, maybe it's cryptocurrency. It doesn't matter what the investments are. You got to believe in it and you have to understand the investment. I have tons of videos on my channel where I talk about how to invest. You can check out my ebook if you want to learn more, but in that actual how to invest, that's a different topic. But now when we talk about actually planning to invest, that's where you want to consistently keep investing a piece of your income every time you get paid from here on out. That way you can truly build this wealth over long term, because real wealth is compounded and built in silence, while that richness is flashy and loud, and it also leaves very quickly.
A lot of people that I know, a lot of people, they are so hesitant to making that first investment because what if I do something wrong? What if I make a mistake? What if my investment goes down? And so the simple thing
that's happened to me multiple times.
Yeah, but you learn every time, right?
Yeah.
It's your tuition. It's your real tuition. And you have to be willing to try things.